everybody, welcome to another brand new edition of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and of course we are talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. Remember, new episodes always go up every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but I always put out extra horror content throughout the entire week, and the best way to stay on top of all of that is to get subscribed to my Linktree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed to my Linktree, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio-only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for my movie reviews and rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content, including movie news, movie premieres, and to my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy my Fangoria discount on anything there in their shop, including a yearly subscription to the physical magazine. So take advantage of that, folks. Hit that subscribe button, especially if you're watching on YouTube, as the more subscribers I get, the more content I can put out to all of you. And we got a lot of good giveaways coming up here over the summer as well. You are not going to want to miss out on that. Again, we're going to do our Ghostbusters Frozen Empire giveaway here in just the next couple of weeks. Going to give out the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man drink holder. Going to give out a physical copy of the movie as well too. Might be some other goodies in there as well. So stay tuned for that there, folks. Hit that subscribe button. What are we talking about here tonight? I am a day removed just because I was on vacation this past weekend, so there's no way for me to really get to it. But folks, it's time again for another episode of Interview with the Vampire. We are covering episode 3 of the second season, No Pain, which aired this past Sunday night. And folks, I'm just going to start off the review this way here. I can safely say this has been my favorite episode of the show so far. There was so much going on in the episode this week, y'all, and I'm excited to unpack all of it with you. Remember, you can always hit me in the comment section as well too. Let's talk a little bit more interview here. Now, one thing that's definitely worth mentioning, and I mentioned this in my reviews of like episode 1 and 2 of this season, is that it does seem to be, and that's what I was told as well too, is that the story itself of Interview, the TV show, is not going to follow the books verbatim. It's not going to follow the movie verbatim, obviously. So they're kind of like going all around in like different places of what they're featuring. And that's incredibly exciting because especially in this episode, there seemed like there was a lot of threads being set up for stuff down the line, like not even necessarily this season. And I'm stoked for that because while I would have been more than happy to see like that same story play out the way that we've seen it before already, it's very cool to not have the slightest idea about where this could all end up going. Now, you might remember last week's episode, we found out that the Theater des Vampires, the vampire troupe that's running the theater in Paris, that's head up by Armand, and it features Santiago as the lead actor in this coven, that they have now encountered Louis and Claudia. They've been hearing about them going around Paris, and they're trying to basically figure out what the scoop is, because Louis and Claudia have found out that Lestat was actually the founder of this theater troupe, that he was actually the one that put it all together, which immediately, and absolutely rightfully so, put Claudia and Louis on edge, because the whole thing is that there's these ancient rules that we find out later on in the episode. These are rules that Lestat never taught Louis, and you can already imply the reason why Lestat didn't tell Louis about these rules, because later on in the episode, and we'll talk about what exactly happens there, but later on in the episode, Louis is talking about these vampire rules, and he kind of says that Lestat never explained them to him. And what we know about Lestat is that Lestat will always defy authority. Lestat just does not care about those who are supposed to be running his life, so to speak. Whether it's a maker, whether it's an underling, whether it's somebody in a position of power, Lestat looks out for number one. And so it makes complete sense that he would never tell Louis all these rules, because he doesn't want Louis to be chained by the same rules that he was probably forced upon as well. And I find that so interesting, because we've seen a lot of Lestat in a negative light, and at some point that is going to get turned around into a positive. Like, I don't think it's going to be this season, but at some point I imagine we are going to get the good Lestat, or at least like the chaotic neutral Lestat, because he's very much in those evil auspices right now. And it was very, very fascinating this week watching the way that they kind of went around Louis' romance with Lestat and Armand's romance with Lestat, because we start off getting to see the way that Armand and Lestat connected, that Armand had his own coven going, including a number of the vampires that are in his theater troupe, and that they stumble upon Lestat's performance, Lestat's show that he's doing. And when that happens, basically, Armand, who's seeking to, let's be real, he's seeking to have Lestat for himself, ends up turning Lestat's companion at the time, who was a human companion, because humans are not supposed to know of vampires and live to tell the tale. And it was interesting because in this show thus far, any good portrayals of Lestat that we've seen is very much been manipulation, right? Like any of the times in the early part of season 1 where he was still good Lestat was kind of a way of him manipulating Louis into this relationship. And manipulation, I know I say that's got a bad connotation to it, because I do believe Lestat does love Louis, but there was a lot of manipulation involved with that. And seeing Lestat in Paris with his companion before Armand kidnaps him and turns him, this is the genuine first in this series that we're seeing an innocent, good Lestat live his life. And he doesn't want to live by all of these rules. He doesn't want to go by, he doesn't want to have to follow somebody else telling him what to do, including Armand. But there's something about Armand that's bringing the two of them together. And Armand even talks about the fact that the coven, in the future, the coven is seeing Louis and seeing this freedom that he has, and then it's causing a bit of a stir with them because they all love the freedom that Louis has. And I think that translates back to the past of what we see with Armand and Lestat, because Lestat's living the same life, where Lestat had all this freedom and Armand snatched that freedom for him. And that brought Armand into the theater troupe. That brought Armand's coven into the theater troupe as well, too. So we get to see a lot of their origins. And it's very, very interesting because we see the way that Armand carried himself with Lestat, and that ultimately he very much upheld the rules that these vampire covens definitely follow. But then in the future, we know that Louis and Claudia have broken a number of these rules, a large number of these rules, and that there's going to be some kind of reprisal for this. There's going to be a comeuppance for Louis and Claudia with this, and the noose has gotten so tight around both of their necks because Claudia has just become obsessively enthralled with the theater troupe. She wants to join them. She wants to get on stage. She's fascinated by Santiago, and it's kind of crazy that her fascination with Santiago might just lead to her downfall, because Santiago clearly knows more than what he's leading on. And we see conversation that he has with Armand. He's very aware of certain things that are happening. And one of those rules, which they might have been explained in the books. It's been so long since I've read Interview, Queen of the Damned, and I have not read The Vampire Lestat yet, but it's very, very possible in the books that they explain what these rules were. Because right now, the only rule I was ever aware of was kind of like the Planet of the Apes. Like, ape does not kill ape, vampire does not kill vampire. That was the only rule that I had been really familiar with. And knowing that there's all these other rules, including you never turn a child into a vampire, and not because it's some class thing, but they make it very clear that their minds are not developed, and eventually they'll just go mad from the idea of living as a child for the rest of their life. And it made me wonder, and I'm curious, y'all tell me in the comments here, it made me wonder whether or not they're setting up Claudia to actually be a big bad later down the line, because we know that they're not doing a one-to-one translation of the book or the movie. Like we said that at the beginning of the episode. We've said that in the last 2 coverage of the episodes this year. But I have to actually wonder whether Claudia might actually not die. Like whether or not there's going to be reappraisal, sure. But she's been through some horrible stuff with Bruce, the vampire that she met in season 1 when she took off. So what's to say that Santiago and the Coven won't do the same kind of things to her and yet just not kill her? Because they've set up quite a bit here. Some of the stuff that we know, like Louis being kept in, or being sealed up in a tomb, basically. They showed the tombs. So what if Claudia actually gets that fate this time around? Because some of the stuff happening in this episode made it very much seem like this is the path we're heading. Claudia is eventually going to go crazy, and that might have repercussions for everybody, including Louis. So I'm very fascinated to see where that goes. other stuff. And I'm kind of going a bit all around here, folks, there. Absolutely loved the scene of Armand and Louis walking by the river and Lestat. I thought that was phenomenal because the entire season so far, Louis been like having issues dealing with the memory of Lestat in his head talking to him, and it's been compounded worse and worse and worse since he's gotten to Paris because he's having to block his thoughts from Armand. He's trying to look out for him and Claudia as well too. He's got his mind going in a million different places that he can't keep stuff together. And we know that Armand might be attracted to him, and Louis is definitely attracted to him, but there's so many things hanging over both of their heads that's going to stop this from happening. And what I do find very interesting is that, at least in the movie, they made it very clear that Louis was dead set focused on Claudia. And even though he might have been into Armand, like, it never seemed like it was a conflict of interest, if that makes sense. And in this, like, and I say all that because that led to Armand betraying Louis to, the death of Claudia so he could have Louis to himself. But what's super interesting about the show is that Claudia is clearly over with the coven, and Louis having all this time with Armand. I wonder if Armand actually will play a role in this, because there is an implication here that the troop might still be around. There is a big implication here that troop might still be here, even though Daniel gets communication from what I think is the Talamasca. Folks, I said it was coming. I think that the dude he was talking to in the bar is Talamasca, and that's all the info that he's sending to him. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. I think the Talamasca has finally shown up, and this is going to help out with the connection to the Mayfair witches as well, too. I'm stoked, y'all. This was a phenomenal episode. I love getting the different perspectives that we got Armand heavy in the first third of the episode. Then Louis finally shows up and things kind of shift back over to him, because I thought we might actually get an episode where Louis wasn't featured at all, and that was very intriguing to me. So I'm glad that didn't come out. But God, guys, so many threads opened up with this, including the fact that what is Armand going to do with Louis and Claudia? And, there's always that safe feeling like, well, they're in the future. Armand and Louis are happy, and they're clearly doing this interview, so things must not have all gone bad at that point. That's a fool's way of thinking, those folks. I think there's a lot of bad coming to everybody in this show, and I cannot wait to see it. Either way, I want to hear from you in the comment section, y'all. Tell me what you thought of the episode, and I'm going to be back next week, Monday, for a look at episode 4. That's it for me tonight, though, folks. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.
Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever. It's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.